Title: The Great Canadian Dairy Heist. A tale of tariffs, tears, and trumped-up taxes. In a move that left the world scratching its head and reaching for the nearest bottle of maple syrup, President Donald Trump announced plans to impose a 250% tariff on Canadian dairy products. The bold move was intended to protect American farmers from the tremendously high Canadian tariffs, but it left many wondering if the real victim here was the average American consumer's wallet. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, known for his calm demeanor and affinity for hugging world leaders, was visibly shaken by the announcement. In a tear-filled press conference, Trudeau lamented, "I put Canadians first," as he announced retaliatory measures, which included a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports. The move was seen as a desperate attempt to stabilize Canada's economy, but it left many Canadians wondering if they should start hoarding toilet paper in preparation for the impending trade apocalypse. Back in the U.S., the stock market reacted with its usual grace, experiencing a brief plummet followed by a swift recovery. Investors, clearly more concerned with their portfolios and the price of poutine, shrugged off the news and continued to bet on the next big thing: avocado toast futures. Late-night hosts had a field day with the announcement. Jimmy Kimmel quipped, "Can you believe we're shaking down Canada?" Seth Meyers added, "It's like bullying the kid who always shares his lunch." Stephen Colbert couldn't resist, saying, "Trump's trade policy is like that one friend who ruins every group project." As the trade war rages on, citizens on both sides of the border are left to ponder the true cost of these tariffs. Will Americans soon find themselves paying $7 for a gallon of milk? Will Canadians start trading in their maple leaves for US dollars? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. In the world of international trade, the only thing more unpredictable than Trump's policies is the price of cheese. Part 2. As President Trump's 250% tariff on Canadian dairy products went into effect, the world collectively wondered if America had truly reached a new low. The infamous dairy war, as it quickly came to be known, was spiraling into a full-blown international crisis. News outlets were scrambling for answers, and economists were hyperventilating over the milk storm that was about to hit the U.S. economy. On the morning of the tariff rollout, Trump took to Twitter, claiming the new policy was a game changer. It was a huge victory for the American people, and that nobody loves cheese more than me. Meanwhile, in the quiet suburbs of Ottawa, Canadian officials, including the Prime Minister himself, were secretly plotting how to fight back. "We cannot let the Americans steal our cheese," said a tearful Trudeau, his voice wavering as he held a block of cheddar to his chest like a newborn. "Canada will not back down. Our dairy is sacred. We will fight to the last curd." The Prime Minister then gave an impromptu speech, rallying his people with cries of "For Canada, for cheese." Back in America, dairy farmers were staging their own protests. But it wasn't what you'd expect. Instead of standing proudly with cows and hay bales, these farmers had cleverly replaced their Save American Dairy signs with cardboard cutouts of cows dressed in Gucci and Balenciaga. "We are standing up for dairy, but we are also standing up for fashion," said one protester, waving an oversized milk carton. "If we're going to lose everything, we might as well look good doing it." Of course, the real victims of the tariff wars were the everyday Americans, who were now forced to pay out the nose for a simple bowl of cereal. A carton of milk was now $8, and a block of cheddar cost as much as a premium, handcrafted iPhone case made from endangered squirrel fur. Bread lines appeared in the suburbs, but instead of bread, people waited for overpriced cheese. But not everyone was upset. The American cheese lobby, which had been on life support for decades, suddenly found itself with an unprecedented influx of demand. "Look, it's a disaster for everybody else," said Gordon Gruyere, a representative of the American Cheese Council. "But we're cashing in. We can barely keep up. It's like Christmas in the middle of July, if you're into Gouda anyway." Meanwhile, the Canadian response grew increasingly bizarre. In an attempt to avoid another trade war, Trudeau announced that Canada would now be exporting premium maple syrup-laced dairy products to the United States. "Imagine butter, but with a hint of maple," said a very serious-looking spokesperson. "It's what America never knew it needed." The plan was quickly deemed a failure when American consumers started mistaking it for a new type of flavored vodka and began putting it in cocktails. As the weeks wore on, Trump's approval ratings surged among those who had never tasted Canadian dairy, but were now deeply invested in the idea of their country winning a war against something as innocuous as butter. Trump appeared on Fox News, declaring the tariff a total triumph and calling it the best trade deal America has ever seen, a statement that sent both Canadian and American economists into a collective coma. Who cares about our healthcare system, the economy, or national security? Trump mused, fiddling with a block of overpriced American cheddar. The real issue here is dairy. I'm taking America back to the top, one dairy product at a time. He then proceeded to tweet about how much he loved milk, before blaming any public criticisms of the tariff on fake news. As tensions mounted and tensions over milk prices reached a boiling point, it became clear that the only thing standing between the United States and total chaos was a few cartons of lactose-free milk and a prayer. Back in Canada, Trudeau took one final bold step. He took to social media, posting a picture of himself holding a jug of milk with the caption, "Keep your tariffs. We have maple syrup. Hashtag peace through dairy." In the end, both nations stood firmly divided, each clutching their dairy products like an old friend who had been unfairly taken from them. The rest of the world, however, quietly awaited the next step in the great international battle over curds, culture, and cheese. But there was one thing both Trump and Trudeau could agree on. At least they were all getting a little richer from it, though not necessarily in ways that made much sense to anyone else. Disclaimer: the Great Canadian Dairy Heist has been thoroughly exaggerated for comedic effect. If you're a dairy farmer or involved in international trade, we apologize for the absurdity of this retelling. If you're simply trying to buy a gallon of milk, we feel your pain. Well, that's all the misinformation we've got for today. Folks, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the wrong end of the pool, hit that like button so hard, even your ex would feel it. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, because nothing says I have my life together like notifications about things you don't need to know. Stay factually incorrect, and I'll see you next time. Unless I've accidentally got some facts right, then I'm out.